Hello dear students, I hope you all are healthy and safe at your home. My name is Ankita and I am teaching as an assistant professor in Department of Computer Science and Engineering at St. Andrews Institute of Technology and Management, Gurugram. I welcome all of you to the lecture 8 of my online lecture series of object-oriented programming. In this video we are going to study about the late binding, runtime polymorphism, the virtual functions, what are the use of virtual functions, pure virtual functions and the abstract classes. So in previous video we studied about operator overloading, which is again a type of compile time polymorphism. We were using one operator function there, and with the help of that function we were giving new meanings to the operators, the existing operators. Okay, so we will proceed further in this video. So what is runtime polymorphism? So runtime polymorphism is achieved by the method overriding or function overriding, and in this runtime polymorphism the function call is matched with the function definition at the runtime, and or you can say the compiler matches the function definition with the function call at runtime, which is usually implemented with the help of pointers. So in contrast with the compile time or the static polymorphism, the compiler deduces the objects at the runtime and decides which function call to bind to the object. Okay, so we will study next method overriding. This is a technique or mechanism using which a function is defined in the base class is once again defined in the base class, or you can say the new version is created inside the child class or the derived class. And this function overriding is encountered when we have inheritance concept in our program. So what happens is, when function from the base class have same signature or the prototype, that is that says that same name will be there, same prototype, return type, same argument list will be there inside that function, and that function is redefined inside the derived class. So when we redefine that function in derived class, that function becomes the function overriding in the derived class, and the function which is already defined inside the base class, that becomes the overridden function. Okay, so we will see, or we will try to understand it with the help of example also. So here we have one example of such type, that in which we are having function overriding, or let us execute it on some online editor also, so it will be more clear to you. So here we have two classes. I have created the format of inheritance here, so I'll just add public here because all the member functions are written inside the public section. So suppose we have one function show, which is just displaying a message, some message to define that it is the main class or the base class or the first class. Okay, so this function ends here, and in the derived class also we have same name function. This is also displaying its own message. That message can be anything. Okay, so we need to yes, classes are already have the ending brackets and the ending braces. So in main function we will be creating object of derived class, and with this object I am calling this show function. So you have to assume the output, or what will be the output of this particular program. So here we have one function, same name function show, and show as well in the base, in the derived class also. Show is displaying only A, and show in derived class is displaying B. So when I created, at this point of time what is happening, the compiler, if compiler is facing any ambiguity, then it is resolving it in the manner it did in the compile time polymorphism. Like we have object of derived class, then show, because derived class object is deriving features of base class as well as the derived class. We expected that it should display the base class show method, but it will not show that, because whatever object you are creating here, it will match object's method with that particular function definition. So here we have function definition show inside the derived class also. That's why any number of times you are executing this method is overriding this show function which is in the base class. So this is the overriding method, and this is the function which is getting overridden. Okay, just for your knowledge. Okay, so every time you will execute this, it will execute the derived class. So derived class method is overriding the base class function. So this was the example. Again, I have shown this example on the online editor to you. So you have to run this program, and then you have to write the output in your own notes. So this problem can be resolved if we want to execute the base class function also. Then we can have one alternative, that we can create separate objects for both base and the derived class. So base is having show function and derived is having its own show function. Okay, so in main function we have first created object of base class, and then we are creating object of derived class. So there will be no problem. Again, the compiler will act according to the compile time polymorphism. So it is binding the show function definition with this calling by recognizing the object type. So it is having base object, so it will execute the base class definition, and it is having the derived class object, so it will execute the derived class function. So this is one solution to resolve the method overriding. Okay, so there can be one more solution, that we can create base class pointer also, and we can assign the derived class object address to that base class pointer. And as I said that runtime polymorphism is achieved with the help of pointer also. So in this example we will be creating base class pointer. As we know, the pointers provide the best solution to resolve runtime problems. So in C++ we can create a base class as well as derived class pointers. So we will see what happens when we use the base class pointer and assign the derived class object to this base class. So here we have one base class, and void show is the function which is having its own statement, and in derived also we have show function which is having its own statement. So in main function I have created base class pointer, and this is the derived class object. I have added some comments here. Irrespective of what type object the base pointer is holding, the program calls the function of the base class, or we can say the first copy of the function which the compiler encountered in the base class. Again, here static linking is happening. How? Because we have created a base class pointer here, and we are assigning the base class pointer the address of derived class object. So what is happening? Compiler will check this particular statement. B is calling the show function. So again, pointer is of base class. Even if it has derived class address, derived class object's address, even then it will call to the show definition which is inside the base class. So again, early binding is happening here. Try to understand this with the pointer only, that pointer point of view, that here we have created a pointer of the base class, and I am passing the address of derived. So here in this statement we are expecting that because it is having address of derived object, then it should display the derived message here or statement here, but it is showing the base class function or base class statements here. Early binding is happening here because compiler did not find any other way of pointing it towards the derived class function. So whatever function it is encountered first at the first place, it is executing that only. So when it will see which function, which show function definition was first written, then it will display that output. So base class output you will get here. Okay, so in this case also you can resolve this by creating the derived class pointer separately and then passing derived class object address to that derived pointer as well. So you can create the derived class pointer as well. We will get Q here. Okay, so we can create derived class pointer again, then by passing the same derived class here, we can replace it with the Q. Instead of base class pointer, we will write it, we will pass this address to the derived class pointer. Now in this case it will display you the derived class. Here the output will be derived class. Okay, so just to explain you, I have changed the code here only instead of online editor. So in both the cases we saw that we have to separately create either object or pointers if you want to resolve method overriding at runtime. Okay, so even in the normal case, if in the normal case we have base class pointer and I am assigning the object, derived object address to this base class pointer, the compiler is running in its own way. It is getting whatever definition it is getting on the first place, it is executing that only. And in simple case it is overriding, derived class function is overriding over the base class again and again. So the one solution to all such problems is known as the virtual function. So virtual functions are member functions only, which are declared within the base class and redefined inside the derived class. So when we refer a derived class object using a pointer or a reference to the base class and call the function body of the derived class, then function definition of base class is called, because the base class function is encountered first to the compiler, as we saw in the previous example also. So by making the virtual, in this example we saw this. Okay, so here what was happening, because the base class version of this same name function was encountered by the compiler first. Here if we had this statement, that is b is equal to ampersand of, or the address of your, so when I was calling this with b, then it was showing the base class definition of the show function. So in this scenario also early binding was working. So by making the base class function virtual, the compiler ignores the definition of the base class function, that is show in this case. We will show it with the help of example also. And by making the base class function as virtual, compiler ignores the base class same name function definition, and because this function was derived by the derived class, so compiler calls the derived class function body. So here are some features of the virtual functions. We will show them one by one. I have also included the points which I have said earlier also. So these functions are mainly used to achieve the late binding or the runtime polymorphism, and the virtual functions ensure that correct function is called for the object regardless of the type or the pointer used for the function call. So as in the previous example, we created a base class pointer, but we were passing the address of derived class object to it. Even then the compiler was showing the base class definition of the show function. So the same name function ambiguity is resolved at the runtime, and to resolve that ambiguity we use pointers usually. The virtual function that should be accessed using pointer or reference of the base class type. Functions are declared with the help of keyword virtual. Virtual functions cannot be static and cannot be friend of another class. The prototype of the function where virtual function should be same as in the base as well as in the derived class. They are always defined in the base class and overridden in the derived class. So it is mandatory for the derived class to override or to redefine the virtual function. In that case, base class version of the function is used. So we will run this program on online editor as well. Before that, I want all of you to have a look on this program. There is a base class, and this is the show function. Okay, so we have added one keyword virtual here. Now in this case this function becomes the virtual. Okay, so it is having its own statement, it is having one derived class, and derived class also contains one show function. Derived class will not have the virtual keyword. Now this program is very much similar to the previous above example which we studied earlier. Base class pointer is created here and derived object is passed to the base class pointer. So when we assign this derived class object to the base class pointer and call the show function, and at this point of time binding is happening. Also, what kind of binding? Late binding is happening here. In earlier case it was early binding because we had not written the virtual keyword in that case in above program. So the show function body in the derived class is bound to the function call at this point of time. So what happened here? This, by adding this virtual keyword, compiler ignored this function definition. If we do not write virtual keyword here, then this is the first definition which is encountered by the compiler. It will show the show function of the base class. It will show this message here if we do not write virtual keyword. But by making this particular function virtual, compiler will ignore it. It is bypassing this particular function and it will display the output here because the pointer is having the show function, and the first definition was ignored or was disappeared, you can say, in one sense. It got disappeared for the compiler and it is having only derived class definition. So a class can have a collection of normal functions as well as virtual functions. So here we are going to write one program to define this concept very nicely. So void function, we will take different functions here. Function 1, which is having a statement which will display, you can say just base fu, just a normal message. Okay, so ended with the semicolon. Another function cout, fun2. I'm just printing the message here, so we will be able to see that which function definition is getting executed. Again, we can have one more function as virtual. There is no restriction that how many number of virtual functions you should have in your base class as well as derived class. So that depends only on the programmer, no problem. fun3. Okay, so this class ends here. We will come to the derived class next. Derived class also contains the same function fun. It is showing its own, you can say, the derived function. Okay, I'm just enclosing these brackets here so it will not create any confusion because there will be multiple lines in that case. Function 2 will be there. So base also have 3 functions and we have created 3 functions in derived as well. I'm writing it in this one line. So for few seconds just assume the output of this program, okay, on your own. So in main function, we will have pointer to the base class. So next we have B is capital in base, star, pointer, for pointer I took P, and the object of derived we have already created here. So this is the base class pointer, and this is the derived class object. Okay, so next I need to call these functions. So with the help of P, by passing the address of the object derived class, here I would like to call these functions one by one, and then I will see the output of these functions. One more point, one thing I also want to do here, I would like to add the new line characters, so that whatever output I get, I can just see it in the proper format. Okay, this is the complete program. Here we have one function, function 1, function 2, function 3, and function 1, function 2, function 3 in the derived class also. For one point of time, I will remove these virtual keywords from the base class as well. So what output do you expect that, what output should the compiler display? What is happening here? It is displaying only base function 1, base function 2 and base function 3, because even if we have created pointer of base class, and we are passing address of object to this base class pointer, compiler is performing in the early binding technique. So here I have called P function 1, then the very first definition which is encountered by the compiler, it is executing only then. It is not able to come onto this particular definition. So that's why we are getting output base function 1, base function 2, base function 3. Now, to allow compiler to display the derived class definitions, we have to write the virtual keyword. If I write virtual keyword only in the function 3, then see the output. So what has happened here? Base function 1 is executing, function 1 is executing base here, and in this function 2 also base function is happening because I have written virtual keyword in the function 3 of the base class. So it is bypassing this particular function, and it is displaying this particular output of the derived class. So this is the concept of the virtual. If you write virtual keyword in the 2, as we had done in the previous case, so in this case the output will be base function 1, derived function 2, and the derived function, because I have not write 3 here, that's why it is not showing 3. So I hope you all are understood with this. Okay, so this is the example of the virtual functions. Similar example I have included in this notes also. So you will find that by adding virtual keyword, compiler is able to display the derived class definition also. Even if we do not write keyword virtual, then it always displays the base class definition. You should remember some important points regarding virtual function, that what happens when we create any virtual function. So this virtual function is bound to the function body accurately at the runtime by using the concept of virtual table. As and when we create any virtual function in our base class, a v table is created with the hidden pointer vptr. So both these concepts are internal implementation and that cannot be seen by the programmer directly. So a virtual table is a kind of table which creates a list of all the pointers. A virtual table is, or v table is, set up by the compiler only for a class who is having or which is having a virtual functions as well as the classes that are derived from the classes having virtual functions. So any class which is having either it is virtual base class or it is having virtual functions, A vtable is maintained by the compiler itself. It contains all the entries that are function pointers to the virtual functions that can be called by the object of the class. Or this is one function pointer entry. There is one function pointer entry for each of the virtual functions. So for each virtual function, one VPTR will be maintained, one pointer will be maintained in this table. So in this case, pure virtual function, they have their entry as null because they are only declared, they are not defined. So their entry will be null. So VPTR is called the vtable pointer, and it is a hidden pointer that the compiler adds to the base class as and when we create any virtual function in that base class. This VPTR points to the vtable of the class, and all the classes derived from this base class, they automatically inherit this VPTR. Every object of a class containing the virtual functions internally stores this VPTR, and it is transparent to the user. Whatever object you create for the class, and that object is also having virtual functions, so they internally store the VPTR. So VPTR and vtable are two concepts which works behind the virtual functions. So for each virtual function in your class, each entry is maintained by the compiler in vtable. Okay, so this happens in both the cases, whether it is virtual base class or virtual functions. So next topic is the abstract classes. See, consider one example that we have one class called shape, which is expected to perform the area of different geometrical shapes. So from shape class we have a circle, rectangle and the triangle as the derived classes. So the area function, we created one area function in that shape class. So shape class do not want to add any implementation to the area because this implementation will be different in case of circle, in case of rectangle, in case of triangle. So these derived class have to give their own implementation to this area function. So in that case we can create this area function as a pure virtual function, and any class which is having a pure virtual function is known as the abstract class. Okay, so there are two types of classes, concrete classes and the abstract classes. Concrete classes are those classes which are instantiated with the help of object, or you can say the object of such classes are created, but abstract classes are those classes for which we do not create any object. These are not concrete classes, these are abstract classes. They only provide the description, or you can say the declaration of certain functions, and those functions has to be defined by the child classes or the derived classes. Conceptually, a class that cannot be instantiated and is usually implemented as a class that has one or more pure virtual functions is known as the abstract classes. Sometimes we do not know all the implementation of the functions in advance, and we expect derived class to add their own functionality to that particular function. Okay, so in such cases we use abstract classes, as I took the example of a shape class. Similarly, we can have animal class that doesn't have any implementation for the move function. So by considering all animals move, so according to the movement of these animals, we have created one function, but this animal class will not implement this function because it is expected that all the classes derived from this animal class, they will implement this move function according to their own requirements. Okay, so abstract class format is followed by a class keyword and then the abstract class name. We need not to add the abstract keyword. Abstract keyword is not used while creating the abstract classes, remember that. We have created one pure virtual function. Any virtual function which is declared in this manner, which is written with is equal to 0, that is known as the pure virtual function. Whereas this is a virtual function because we have only declared this. This is not equal to 0. That means this class has to write the definition of this particular function also. So this is just a virtual function and this is a pure virtual function, or this is any normal membered function. So abstract classes are used to define the implementation and is intended to be inherited from all the concrete classes. Okay, so sometimes we use phrase pure abstract class, which means a class that exclusively has a pure virtual function and no data. So such classes are known as pure abstract classes. If we do not have these two things in this particular format, then this particular abstract class becomes the pure abstract class. In this case, this class becomes the pure abstract class here. Okay, so any class which is having only one pure virtual function declaration, that is known as the pure abstract class. If we wish to create a concrete class or a class that can be instantiated from an abstract class, we must declare and define a matching member function for each abstract member function of the base class. Otherwise, if any member function of the base class is left undefined, so in that case, that derived class also becomes the abstract class. So what I mean, that we have one base class. We will see the examples also. We have one base class and it is having one derived class. That base class is having one pure virtual function. So now it has become an abstract class. So that pure virtual function declaration is there in the base class. So if we are deriving any class from the base class, then derived class has to implement or write the definition for that particular pure virtual function. If that derived class fails to do or fails to write the definition of that pure virtual function in its own body, then that derived class also act as the abstract class. So you cannot create object of that class too. Okay, minimum one pure virtual function will be there, and that class will become abstract classes. These classes are used to provide an interface for its subclasses, and these classes inheriting an abstract class must provide definition to the pure virtual function, otherwise they will also become the abstract classes. So I have mentioned also, which I am explaining to you, I have written those in 2 points also. Abstract class cannot be instantiated, but pointers and reference of the abstract class can be created. Abstract class can have normal member functions, variables along with the pure virtual function. Abstract classes are mainly used for upcasting. Upcasting is when we have a superclass or base class pointer or reference which is pointing to the derived class object. That is known as the upcasting. So in earlier examples also we saw the upcasting. Okay, so we will see the example of abstract classes. So here we have one base class. In this base class we have written one declaration of the pure virtual function. So this is the pure virtual function. Any virtual function which is declared with the value 0, that is the pure virtual function. In derived class we have the definition for that pure virtual function. Same, if derived class do not contain this particular statement or this particular complete body, then it is also acts as the abstract classes in that case. So it is having its body, so that this is the concrete class, not an abstract class here. So this is the implementation of virtual function in derived class, and we have created base object, base pointer is there, and derived D. See, this is, I have written intentionally base. I have tried to create object of the base class, but base class is the abstract class, so we cannot create object of the base class, but we can create pointer. This is correct. We can create pointer or reference of the base class. So similarly the derived class object is created, and next I have passed derived class object address to the base class pointer, and I am calling the show function, which will display what? Which will display this particular statement, implementation of virtual function in the derived classes. I would suggest that you all should run this program in any online editor, as I am writing all these examples in the online editor, and also we are also watching that how these programs are going to execute. So I have not written output here. I would suggest you that execute this program on any online editor and then include output into your notes. What is the reason of not creating any object of the abstract classes? See, When we create any pure virtual function in any abstract class, so we reserve a slot for that function in the vtable. We studied about vtable and vptr, but because that is a pure virtual function, it doesn't define anything. It does not put any address in that particular slot of vtable. Hence this vtable slot is incomplete, this vtable slot is empty. So for compiler it is not possible to assign something to it. So that's the reason compile do not allow abstract classes to create any object of itself. So pure virtual functions are defined in this manner, which is written as equal to 0, and a pure virtual function can have its own definition also, but there is one condition, that you have to define that definition outside the class. Okay, we have seen the example here how we are declaring this pure virtual function inside the base class. If base class wants to print some message or wants to execute through this pure virtual function, then it can also define some definition in this pure virtual function. How we can achieve this? So here is base class, this is the pure virtual function. Pure virtual function definition will always be written outside the class using scope resolution operator in this manner. You can write this definition in this manner. So next we have derived class, which is implementing the same show function, and in main function we have created pointer to base class, and derived class object is created, which is passed with the address to the base class pointer. So you also need to run this program in your online editor and add the output in your own notes. So I think this is enough for today's video. We will cover virtual destructors in next video. Thank you so much. Take care.